easiest and at the same time most difficult question to answer. It keeps getting worse, but in a very sophisticated manner, because there are two layers of the Russian civil society. On the surface, human rights organizations work. There is some media channels, still semi-independent, like the Echo Moscow radio station or the Novaya Gazeta. But it's just the surface, whereas problems some particular organizations are facing amount to really real political motivated persecution. And I intentionally use the word politically motivated persecution because the Russian authorities regard as political opposition any kind of civil society activity.
Mm-hmm. There are special human rights affected for that? Which press, free expression, or?
Well, to be frank, there is no single civil liberty which hasn't been violated or just crashed. If Russia doesn't regard as important to observe the basic rights, the rights for life and fair trial, so what to expect about some less acute things than the right to life?
Mm-hmm. There are journalists in prison now, or not?
Well,
or human rights defenders?
As for human rights defenders, yes, there are some human rights defenders who are either under criminal charges or in prison right now. The most recent case is the case of Alexei Sokolov. He is a human rights defender from Yekaterinburg, and Alexei Sokolov worked within his human rights group to reveal cases of ill treatment and torture, which are quite common with the Russian Ministry of the Interior and other law enforcement agencies. And several years ago, he developed a documentary, and immediately he was charged under fabricated case on banditism, and last week he was sentenced to 5 years in detention camp. In spite of all the protests from all over Russia and international human rights organizations such as Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch.
And which is the reason for his trial? What did they say?
No, actually, he was charged with banditism, but the case was concocted, so it was false from beginning to end. And the court trial itself, which was monitored by human rights defenders and some European politicians, for instance, Heidi Hautala, the chair of the subcommittee on human rights at the European Parliament, visited Yekaterinburg to monitor this particular case and another case of Alexei Nikiforov, who is a journalist also from Yekaterinburg. So for us all, it was clear, and it is clear, that an absolutely innocent person has been sentenced to 5 years in camps just because he exposed cases of torture.
Mm. What about this documentary? You can see it, it's passed on TV or on internet? Or?
Well, I watched this documentary, and there have been attempts to put it in the internet, but actually I haven't checked the current situation with this documentary, but it's available. It's possible to obtain, or for instance, it's just possible to contact people in Yekaterinburg, friends and colleagues of Alexei Sokolov, and it's not a problem.
And it's about the human rights in Russia.
It's about torture, which is just common day reality of Russian prisons.
Seen from here, we are surprised sometimes because we saw in the media that the meetings, the demonstrations are prohibited.
Yeah.
That is very surprising, no?
For us, it's not surprising because it's their practice. It's their practice which reveals their deep fear towards people and towards people's opinion. On the one hand, on the other hand, it also demonstrates their complete neglect of people's opinion. So they just don't care. Actually, since the very beginning of mass protest actions, which started to develop in full since 2006, when the Russia opposition, as the Russia coalition opposition was established in Russia, there have been almost no People's Assembly which has been authorized. For instance, right now the Russian opposition groups, and when I tell Russian opposition groups, it's reality is a lot broader. We can't tell that the Russian opposition is made up of particular groups. Certainly there are some, it depends on the region. In some regions, human rights activists get together with political activists and trade unionists. In other regions, it's just politically oriented groups which forms the opposition. But as far as we can observe right now, so more and more just common people join these street actions. And since July 31st last year, the so-called strategy 31st actions have been started to develop, and right now, so the strategy has been supported by different groups of people from Moscow, St. Petersburg, and other regions of Russia. So the movement is spreading, and at the same time it raises concerns from the authorities. And for instance, we know that in Rostov-on-Don on May 31st, their actions of such opposition groups, which are made there from political activists and human rights defenders, have been banned under really funny pretext that the authorities claim that they would hold the anti-tobacco day on the day of their opposition activities. Besides that, on May 31st in Rostov-on-Don, there will be the EU-Russia summit held. And there are people there, and this is the capital of the South Federal Circuit, which is a very hot area due to obvious reasons, because it is also made up of the North Caucasus. So they feel that the authorities are planning to cleanse the area before European politicians come to the city. So it's not just the ban on street actions, which is worrisome itself, but all spectrum of different kind of persecution, harassment against targeted individuals who the authorities identify with organizers of such protest.